What do a jelly and a dragon have in common? And can dragons live underwater? This is Smaugust, a daily dragon design challenge. I've just finished 20 days of drawing dragons, and every creature came from a single prompt. Have I improved since the first 10? And will your favourite be in this set? Let's find out.
Hood, doodles, hadoodles.
Day 11. Glow. My thinking with glow was that dragons are strongly associated with fire, so having the glow come from a flame made the most sense. I started with the entire head of the dragon wrapped in fire, knowing I wanted to take it further and eventually engulf the whole body. As I went on, I shrunk the body down to make the head larger and give the design a cuter look. Then I went on to shape fire around the body, which gave it more and more of a fire spirit vibe, something akin to a mythological will-o'-the-wisp. I think the design works overall, but it's not one of my favourites. The dragon itself feels a bit generic and one note. I did go back at the end to change the plain eyes into something a little cuter to help it along. Day 12. Food. This was one of those days where the idea just came immediately. A dragon fruit. Or should that be a dragon fruit dragon? Once I'd come up with that, the design came together very quickly. A nice balance of quirky and cute. Plus it was flying, which will make combining these designs into a single composition at the end much easier. If you want to see how I did that for the first 10 dragons, check out my other compilation video, link in the description. Day 13. Celestial. This was another one where I had a really strong idea of exactly what I wanted to do, even if it wasn't necessarily so obvious. Crescent moon horns are the starting point, and then a long, flowing mystical dragon holding 2 orbs that could be stars or planets, or some other astrological body. I really liked playing around with a different body style for this one, something akin to an Asian dragon, which are often associated with wisdom. However, it wasn't until after I'd done the inking that the design really began to shine, as I gave it dark skin and dotted that with stars of various different sizes and shapes. The challenge here was balancing all of the different sizes to create a pleasant layout, and of course, knowing when enough is enough. I added a touch of shading for depth, and then gave the face a little colour. This is definitely one of my favourites. Hit the like button if you're as big a fan as I am. Day 14. Jelly. Another day where the idea was clear in my head, but this one was definitely weirder. An upside-down dragon suspended in a giant cube of jelly, totally normal. Of course, if the dragon is trapped, so is its treasure, and a few dropped items from knights who had tried and failed to steal it. I inked this the normal way, focused on smooth speed and trying to balance thick lines for the big shapes and thin lines for the details. As I went, I began to think about shading. I could either colour the jelly itself for contrast, or just shade the objects for dimension. I went with the latter, and I think it works nicely. Day 15. Misshapen. This is the first day of the group where I didn't really know exactly where I wanted to go, and so I tried a few different ideas that I had for dragons that had non-traditional shapes. I really like some of these designs, and can definitely see myself coming back to them in the future, but ultimately, the weird kid doodle was the one I really wanted to run with. It was an easy design to finish off, as it doesn't even have any shading, just scribbled ink for colours. Whew, halfway. Which is your favourite so far? Day 16. Princess. I had a few thoughts for this. My first was some sort of cool princess charging into battle on the back of her trusty dragon. Even the dragon gets a tiara. The next was actually a dragon who was a princess. But I finally settled on the idea of a princess who just loves dragons so much that she dresses up as one all the time. I leaned heavily into the cute chibi art style on this one, which my kids love. I made sure to show off the stitching and zipper so that it was really clear that this was a costume that she was wearing. I love the idea that the king and queen struggle to get her to wear anything else. Inking followed the same pattern as always, although given the complex, compact chibi costume, I used both my line weight and my shading of the forms to help separate the different elements and make it easy to see what's what. It turned out super cute, but who let a human into the dragon drawing challenge? Day 17. Marine. I felt like I had a really clear idea of what I wanted to do for marine. Some sort of combination between a whale and an eel with fishy elements. I still needed it to be a dragon, so I kept to the legs, but probably could have made them wing-like. It took shape as a big, slow-moving creature that had coral horns and barnacles and a reef that grew all across its back. I picked a large creature that was almost like a moving environment for the smaller animals that lived around it. And whilst I think that the design looks interesting, I felt like it was too detailed and didn't really tie in with the rest of the designs. So I went in another direction. I liked the catfish whiskers, but couldn't quite figure out the body shape that I wanted to go for. Something almost ray-like, but mimicking the wings of a dragon and the way that some dragons' front legs and wings are combined. I had a few different goes with the heads, trying different fishy or sharky heads, and ended up with this one that I feel resembles a seal. I put the coral horns and something similar to the catfish whiskers back in, gave it some sort of pattern that looked like it might be appropriate for a marine animal, and colored it all up. I release these dragon designs as shorts on the day that I make them. If you want to see them earlier, head over to my other channel, @HerDoodleShorts. But make sure you come back, that way I get 2 views. Day 18. Magic. This design came to me as an almost fully formed image in my mind, and I feel like I was able to capture it fairly well. I liked the idea of a really serene creature that was walking across solid discs of light that it had formed using its magic powers. Between its antlers was some sort of halo-type crown, and I think it really works with the magic angle. Sometimes it's a shame when you fall in love with your first design. It makes it so hard to move past it, but it can also be such a novelty to translate a thought so fully to the page. This design ended up less of a dragon than most of the others, and definitely more of a deer, something I possibly could have spent more time trying to finesse. Day 19. Skeleton. Don't get too attached to this first design. While I really like it and think that it works fantastically well, it was way too anatomical. I don't want to have to figure out all the bones of a dragon's ankle. So I went in a much more simple direction, starting with a basic outline of a generic dragon shape. I then intended to add simple bones, giving the idea of a skeleton. This should fit better with the rest of the set and wouldn't tax my dragon anatomy knowledge too much. In practice, this still meant figuring out exactly how much detail to add and which bones to put in where. I knew I would need bones for all the legs, but also wanted to add in a spine that went the whole way down to the tail. And also rib bones to fill out the chest a bit. I kept the bone shapes really simple, general ideas of where they would be. The hips were a bit challenging, but seemed important enough to include. The wings tripped me up though. I couldn't decide whether to include the membrane or just leave it as the bones, which is where I finally settled. It ended up looking like a Halloween costume, just enough bones to sell the skeleton idea without being too detailed or scary. I thought about maybe making the bones dark and shading the body, but ultimately went for a classic skeleton look with shaded bones. Day 20. Teeth. I thought this was going to be one of the easiest ones. Dragons have big sharp teeth. Obvious, right? All I had to do was lean into that and create a design where they were front and center. I tried big teeth, I tried cheesy grins, I tried super wide open mouths on a swirly little dude with finger guns. I quite liked his cheeky little attitude, so I finished this design off. I tried a few other things, but realized when facing forwards, they looked more like generic monsters with teeth, not dragons. Anything that was side-on showed off the more reptilian look. So, you guessed it, I went with finger guns. Beside the cheeky attitude, I also liked the long but compact body. Simple ink and shade, and we are done. And there we have it. Another 10 days completed. 20 down, 11 to go. Which was your favorite this time? Let me know in the comments. And a like or subscribe would really help me push through the final stretch. If you want to see these designs come to life on the day that I create them, head over to my YouTube Shorts channel, @HerDoodleShorts. Subscribe to this channel to see the next 10-day compilation video, and watch the previous 10 days in one big video here.